Welcome to The Explainer. We live in a world that is just completely obsessed with life hacks, shortcuts, and these overnight success formulas. But today, we're doing something different. We are skipping the superficial stuff and we're going to strike right at the root of how human beings actually grow, change, and succeed in a lasting way. So, let's anchor this whole exploration in one of the most profound texts of the last century. I'm talking about Stephen R. Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Now, you might already be familiar with Covey, but what's really fascinating here is that he didn't actually invent these habits, right? He didn't just come up with some trendy new psychological trick. Instead, he spent decades studying over 200 years of success literature just to identify these timeless, universal principles. So we are moving far past superficial life hacks today. We're looking at the undeniable, natural laws of human effectiveness.
I want you to ask yourself, honestly, right now, are you incredibly busy but ultimately kind of unfulfilled? I mean, we see this everywhere today, right? This modern epidemic of burnout. You take a time management course, you buy that really expensive new planner, you psych yourself up with a positive mental attitude, you try out a new communication technique to get your kids or your team to actually listen to you. And, well, it works for a few days. But then comes the fizzle. You end up right back exactly where you started. And why is that? It's because we are constantly treating the symptoms of our lives instead of the root cause. We're essentially just slapping social band-aids on deep, chronic wounds.
To understand exactly why those quick fixes fail, we really have to challenge a massive assumption. See, we all tend to believe that the way we see the world is completely objective, that we see things exactly as they are. But let's actually test that reality right now. Take a quick mental note of what you see here. Okay, you might have seen this classic optical illusion before. Many of you are looking at this and immediately, boom, you see a young woman. She's probably in her mid-20s, looking away over her right shoulder. You can pretty easily make out her petite nose, her eyelashes, a fashionable hat, a choker necklace, and just this demure, elegant presence. Like, if you were in the fashion industry, you'd probably want to hire her as a model. Just lock that image in your head for a second. But here is why this is absolutely profound. Two people can look at the exact same facts and see completely different realities. Because what if I told you this is actually a picture of a sad older woman, maybe in her 70s? She has a very large hook nose. She's looking down, wearing a shawl over her head. What you thought was the young woman's necklace, that's actually the old woman's mouth. What you thought was the young woman's chin is the old woman's nose. If you can't see both yet, keep looking. It's wild, right? And this isn't just a neat visual trick. It is a fundamental psychological reality. We do not see the world as it is. We see the world as we are, or as we've been conditioned to see it. And that brings us to a really core concept, the paradigm. A paradigm is simply your mental lens. It's your framework or your map. Imagine for a second you're trying to find a specific building in Chicago, but due to some crazy printing error, the map you have is actually of Detroit. Think about the sheer frustration of that. I mean, you could work on your behavior, right? Try harder, run faster. Well, you'd just get to the wrong place sooner. You could work on your attitude, think positive thoughts, but you still wouldn't be at your destination. You'd just be happily lost in Detroit. No amount of positive attitude or behavior modification is going to help if your fundamental map is wrong. To show you just how deeply our paradigms control our behavior, consider this incredible story from Covey. Imagine you're sitting on a quiet, peaceful subway car in New York. Suddenly, a man gets on with his children. And the kids are just loud, throwing things, grabbing people's newspapers. It is pure, unadulterated chaos. And the father? He just sits there, eyes closed, doing absolutely nothing. Your irritation completely peaks. You're probably thinking, how can he be so insensitive? How can he just let his kids run wild like this? Finally, you've had enough. You turn to him and ask him to control his children. The man opens his eyes, looks around, kind of like he's waking up, and softly says, "You're right. I should do something. We just came from the hospital. Their mother died about an hour ago. I don't know what to think, and I guess they don't know how to handle it either." Wow. In that single instant, your entire paradigm shifts. The facts didn't change at all. The kids are still loud. But your map of the situation completely transformed. And because your map changed, your feelings and your behaviors instantly went from intense irritation to deep compassion. That is the sheer power of a paradigm shift. This really reveals two wildly different ways we view success. For the last 50 to 70 years, society has been completely obsessed with the personality ethic. This is the paradigm of public image, influence techniques, power strategies, and positive mental attitude. It's all about looking the part and, playing the game. But if we look at the first 150 years of success literature, the paradigm was entirely different. It was based on the character ethic. This paradigm dictates that true success only comes from deep integrity, humility, courage, justice, and foundational goodness. The personality ethic is just a superficial band-aid. The character ethic, that is the enduring root. And there's an analogy that just brilliantly illustrates the difference here. Think about a high school or college system. That's an artificial social system, right? So you can totally use the personality ethic there. You can slack off all semester, charm the teacher, learn how to play the game, and then just cram the night before the final to pass the test. But human growth and relationships, those are natural systems. Imagine trying to cram on a farm. Seriously, imagine forgetting to plant in the spring, playing video games all summer, and then pulling an all-nighter in the fall to cram the harvest? It's literally physically impossible. You cannot fake the harvest. This is exactly what Covey calls the law of the harvest. Human relationships are natural systems. Sure, you can fake interest in a coworker's hobbies to get what you want in the moment, but if your underlying character is manipulative, your duplicity is eventually going to breed distrust. Secondary traits, things like communication skills and charm, they're great, but they have absolutely no permanent worth if they aren't built on a foundation of solid character. Ultimately, what you are shouts so loudly in people's ears that they simply cannot hear what you say.
And that brings us to a really vital distinction. If paradigms are our internal maps, then principles are the actual objective territory. Principles are fundamental truths and natural laws that govern human effectiveness. Think of them essentially as gravity in the human dimension. You can't argue with gravity, and you really can't argue with principles. Your internal map might be incredibly distorted, but the objective territory of these principles, it remains completely unchanged.
To really cement this, consider the story of the battleship on maneuvers in heavy fog. The captain of the battleship sees a light in the distance on a direct collision course. So he signals the light, change course 20 degrees. The signal comes right back, advisable for you to change course. The captain, who is furious at this point, signals, I am a captain, change course. The reply comes back, I am a seaman second class. You had better change course. Finally, completely enraged, the captain signals, I am a battleship, change course. And the flashing light calmly replies, I am a lighthouse. Boom. The captain had a massive paradigm shift. He was forced to align his map with objective reality. Principles are lighthouses. They are totally immovable. As Cecil B. DeMille said, it's impossible for us to break the law. We can only break ourselves against the law. So, what exactly are these immovable lighthouse principles? Well, we are talking about fairness, integrity, human dignity, service, and growth. These aren't religious doctrines or mystical ideas floating out there. They are self-evident. I mean, you can validate them simply by trying to live a life based on their exact opposites. Could you build an enduring, successful life based on unfairness, deceit, uselessness, and degradation? Of course not. These principles are literally woven into the fabric of every enduring society in human history. The closer our internal paradigms align with these immovable lighthouse principles, the more effective and fulfilling our lives are going to be. Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. Henry David Thoreau once wrote, for every 1,000 hacking at the leaves of evil, there is one striking at the root. So I ask you, are you spending your life hacking at the leaves? Are you constantly obsessing over time management tricks, communication hacks, and positive mental attitudes while totally ignoring your underlying foundation? Listen, if you want quantum change, true, lasting, remarkable change, you have to stop cramming. Align your map with true north, strike at the root, and begin the deep, truly rewarding work of cultivating your true character. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll catch you next time.